I never, ever get a chance to speak to young people. And this past weekend, I was invited to go and speak at a center. And when I say young people, they were like between ages of like 18 and 30. Okay. So a lot of times when I'm speaking real estate and I'm teaching it, I'm talking to like fund managers, or I'm speaking to seasoned investors, people already in real estate, corporate people, or even people who might not know real estate, right? But they have money, like they have wealth and they want to work with me or partner with me. So it was very exciting to be in a room full of youth. And it actually took me back to my roots. When I first got started in real estate, I was only focused on things that I could do with no money, no credit, no banks, no loans, things like that. So I want to share with you, especially if you're a young person, I want to share with you some of those strategies that I was able to teach this past weekend to other young people. Okay. I'm not going to turn this into a full tutorial because each of these strategies I literally have built courses around. Like it goes deep, but I at least want to give you some awareness. So if that is something that you're interested in, learning how to get into real estate with no money, no credit, no banks, I'm going to show you, at least give you a glimpse into how to do that right now. So don't go anywhere. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just read some of the questions that they had and I'll go into you. So the main things I'm going to talk about today will be subject to, which is what I call mortgage takeovers. I'm going to talk to you about owner financing. I'm going to talk to you about mortgage wraps, Airbnb. I'm going to talk to you about some non-traditional lending products that are out there. And I would like to talk about Section 8 because that's just what I like to talk about. And I'll also speak to you about adverse ownership and properties. We also call those zombie properties. Okay, so let's take them down one by one. First person here is asking me about how they can start getting capital up to invest in real estate. Hands down, I'm going to suggest that you get into wholesaling. If you don't have any money, you don't want to get into banks or loans, you don't have any credit, wholesaling is going to be my suggestion for you. Because wholesaling is going to help you build capital. So you heard of like flipping houses? Okay, so in wholesaling, we're essentially flipping paper. We're flipping contracts. Let me give you an example that's not real estate related, and then I'll come back and help you understand how that goes with real estate. So when we talk about wholesaling, the example I used over the weekend is buying bundles of hair, right? Buying bundles of hair. So if you know anything about hair bundles, all women now, I used to say black women, all women now are wearing like the wigs and the extensions and things like that. And they're very expensive here in the US. The way that it works in wholesaling is a bundle of hair, you'll likely get it from China or India or somewhere like that, and you get it for a really inexpensive price. I'm going to make up numbers because I don't know hair. I know real estate. Okay, so let's say for $20 in India, you can get a bundle of hair. So you're going to pay the $20 in India. You're also going to pay for shipping costs, whatever that costs. So let's say it's $20 for the hair and then $10 to have it shipped to you. You are then going to find someone here in the US who wants to buy bundles, which is very popular, very easy, right? And let's say you're going to sell that bundle for $100. You don't own a hair company, right? You are not the owner of the hair company in China at all. You are just a person that found that they had it for a great price and you're buying it because here you can sell it for an even better price or a bigger profit for you. So let's say you got the hair, it came in the mail, whatever, and now you're going to go ahead and sell that bundle of hair for $100. You keep what's in between. So I spent $20 to get the hair, $30 in total because I paid $10 for shipping. I sold it for $100, so I keep the $70 profit in between. Okay, I never owned the hair company where the hair came from. I am simply the person that facilitated the purchase and the sale of this bundle of hair between two separate entities, two separate people outside of me. This is also explained pretty well in Rich Dad, Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki, which if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're probably reading right now about wealth. Add that book to your repertoire. Okay, wholesaling and real estate is the same exact thing. The reason why that person bought the bundles of hair from China is because they know in US all the women are buying hair bundles. It just makes sense. Okay, so when you're understanding the world of real estate, you'll understand that many buyers in real estate all want certain things at a certain price. So you'll go to Bill over here and Bill says, hey, Ashley, I have $80,000. to invest, this is what I'm looking for in a property. I want 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and I want it to be in this neighborhood. I have $80,000 that I want to spend. Cool. Now you're in conversation, with a friend, I don't know, whomever. And let's say your friend Yusuf says, yeah, I got this 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom house here in Houston, and I don't know what to do with it. I think I just want to sell it and just get rid of it. And you're like, okay, well, how much do you think you might want for it? I probably just want about $50,000 for the house, really. Ding, 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 ding. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So Bill said he will pay $80,000 for a house like this. My friend Yusuf said he wants to sell a house just like this for $50,000. Think back to the hair, right? I do not own Yusuf's house. I have nothing to do with his house. All I'm going to do is facilitate the purchase, not even facilitate the purchase, right? At this point, I'm just introducing 2 separate parties to the same deal. Okay, so I'm going to go to Yusuf and say, you said you wanted 30? Cool, I'll pay you 30 for it. I don't have 30. I'm not paying 30, okay? Follow me. I'll give you 30 for it. Cool, I'll get him under contract for 30. Then I'm going to go back to Bill and say, Bill, yep, I got the house that you said you wanted. You said you could pay 80 for it. I'll take 80. All right, cool. Bill's happy. Yusuf's happy. Everybody's getting what they want. You keep what's in between. Okay, so the difference between 80,000 and 50,000 is $30,000. You keep what's in between. Why don't you introduce them? Because if you introduce them, then you don't have a job, right? You're not going to be able to wholesale it. They're just going to work together. So you want to be the person that's working with the seller and the person that's working with the buyer. Again, I don't want to turn this into a tutorial, so I'll let it rest here, but wholesaling is what I would recommend if you don't have any money, you don't have any credit, you don't want to work with banks, but you want to find a quick way to build capital so that you can get into real estate investing. One other note on wholesaling, I like it, and I like that I started there because you see so much. You get to see like all the buyers that you're working with, you'll get to see all of the kind of deals that they're doing. Okay, what are they looking for? What are their criteria? They're going to tell you because they need you to find it. So you get to see all of the cool, creative things that they are doing on their side, and you begin to learn it. You also will be working with sellers, which is awesome because now you're learning how to sell. You're learning how to listen. You're learning how to provide a service, provide a product. And then also you'll be working with other wholesalers. So now you're learning how to partner, how to leverage the talents of other people, how to, leverage your time, how to build businesses together. So these are beautiful, beautiful, in my opinion, lessons that you learn in wholesaling that you wouldn't otherwise learn if you just jumped right into another part of it. All right, I digress. Wholesaling, you got that? All right, the next example is someone talked about like, how do they, okay, I think what they were trying to get at is like, if I have an extra room, I heard that I can Airbnb it out and things like that. Airbnb is another way where you can get in with no money, no credit, and no banks. I'll give you an example. Most of the examples I use in these obviously are with family because y'all know in my roots, I always spread the money with my family. Anyway, so I had a female family member who had a boyfriend, and she was spending like 100% of her time at his house. She was sleeping there every night. She only went to her house to maybe, I don't know, grab some stuff every now and then. She was still paying rent there, but she just spent most of her time at her boyfriend's house. So of course, me as a real estate investor, hey, you need to Airbnb that apartment out. While you're not there, Airbnb it out. She's like, well, what if, I want to come home sometimes, and then just block those dates out. If you know you want to come home every Wednesday because you need me time on Wednesday, block those dates out. The other days when you are not there, you need to have that property making money for you. And so she did that. She spent most of her time at her boyfriend's house. She turned her apartment into an Airbnb. Obviously, it's already furnished and everything because she lives there. And she was able to make a profit from her apartment that was just sitting there. This person specifically asked me about, can you do that with a room? You absolutely can. You can just rent out a room in your apartment or a room in your house. You absolutely can, and make that area profitable for you in Airbnb. Again, I'm not going to get into all the logistics of it because we'll be here forever. I just want to make you aware of some things that you can do. Okay. So we talked about wholesaling. We talked about Airbnb. Let's talk a little bit about mortgage takeovers or subject to. So one example of mortgage takeover that I did is I had a coworker. The coworker, her family dynamic changed a bit and she needed a larger space to move into. The issue was she had bought new construction and she had only lived there for a couple of months. So she didn't have enough equity to sell. As a matter of fact, if she wanted to sell, she would have to bring money to the closing table. And she's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to bring money to the closing table. How can I sell this house so I don't have two mortgages that I'm paying so that I can move to a bigger home? So I stepped in. All right, cool. I'll take over your mortgage for you. She's like, what? I'll take over your mortgage for you. So I did that. She moved out. I took over her mortgage. Her mortgage payment was, let's say, I don't want to get too deep into numbers because I really don't want to turn into a tutorial, but I feel like to illustrate what I did and how it's profitable, you need to hear it. So I'll make some numbers up. Okay. Let's say her mortgage was $1,000. Okay. And maybe she still owed $100,000 on the house. I'm just trying to make up some nice even numbers. And let's say her interest rate was 3%. Okay. So I have those three items. I know that she still owes $100,000. She's paying $1,000 a month and her interest rate is 3%. I took that over and now I have ownership of the house. The mortgage is still in her name. It's her mortgage, right? But I took over ownership of the house through a deed. And now I have a moral responsibility to make her payments. I don't want to live in the house. I could, right? I could live in the house. I could rent it out. I could just resell it. I could Airbnb it. I could do whatever I want to do with it. It's my house. Okay. What I decide to do with houses like that is something called selling on a wrap. So now we're getting into a fourth thing. Okay. So we talked about wholesale, Airbnb. I just talked to you about taking over a mortgage. Literally taking over a mortgage is between you and the seller. You don't have to get involved with the bank. We are not talking about a qualified loan assumption. Okay, that's where you have to qualify for the mortgage and the bank gets involved and things like that. You have to get approved. I'm talking about something called an unqualified loan assumption, also known as subject to what I call a mortgage takeover. Unqualified loan assumption means you do not have to go through the bank. You're not going to qualify. You're not even going to alert the bank. Okay, this is between you and the seller. You guys have an agreement. You drop the paperwork at title, and you are now in possession of this house. Okay, let me go into the wraps. So what I did once I gained ownership of this property is I sold it with owner financing on a wrap. That means since there's already a mortgage on this house, I, with the help of a title company, created a mortgage that wraps around the current mortgage. And when we say wrap, it just means whatever the current mortgage is, you have to do something higher or bigger on top of it, right? If it's anything lower than the current mortgage, then you're going to be in the negative paying the difference. You want to be in the positive or the higher for whatever that mortgage is. Here's what I mean. So I told you her monthly payment is $1,000, right? So that means whoever I sell it to on a wrap mortgage, I have to charge them more than $1,000 because I still have to pay off the $1,000 that's owed on her mortgage every single month. So I have to charge them something more. So in this situation, let's say you charge them $1,500. Okay, so every month that person is going to come in and pay you $1,500 for their mortgage payment. Of the $1,500, you're going to take $1,000 of it to pay the mortgage that's already on there from your friend who got the house from, and the other $500 per month stays with you. Same thing goes with what's owed on the mortgage. So in this example, we said that she owed $100,000 on the mortgage. So when I go to resell it on a wrap, it has to be more than $100,000. So let's say I sold it for $150,000. Okay, so it has to be higher. Same with the interest rate. Interest rate we said was 3%. So when I give an interest rate to the person I'm selling it to on a wrap, it has to be higher. So let's say I did that at 5%. Okay, I'm just making up numbers here. Oh man, I hope I don't get confusing because now I'm about to get a little deeper into this. Okay, so on a wrap, there are three main ways to get paid when you sell on a wrap. The first way is going to be a down payment, right? Just like when anyone gets any kind of mortgage, there's a down payment expected to be paid. So you're going to receive a down payment from the person you sell this house to on a mortgage wrap. Typically it's about 20%, but for now I'll just make up a number and say, okay, maybe so for this house, I got $30,000 as a down payment. That's the first profit center. The second profit center is going to be cash flow, which we already talked about. It's going to be $500 per month, right? I have to pay $1,000 per month to cover my friend's mortgage, but I'm making $1,500 a month from the person that I sold it to on a wrap. So I get the $500 cash flow every single month. And then finally, you get paid on the back end with the difference that you create in the interest rates. So if the current interest rate is 3% and I'm charging somebody 5%, that extra 2% grows over time. And so let's say if that person I sold it to, they sell it, right? Or they refinance or anything like that, I get paid out the equity that I created with the interest rates. Okay. I'm gonna keep that simple. I have a whole course on that, and I'm telling you, it takes people 6 weeks to get it. I'm trying to teach it in like 6 minutes. Anyway, we just covered a couple things. Okay, so first we covered wholesaling, we covered Airbnb, we covered taking over someone's mortgage, we covered selling on a wrap. Let's talk a little bit about owner financing. Okay, so owner financing, I'm just referencing to see what the actual question was, so I'll make sure I'm keeping it consistent. All right, so owner financing, they're pretty much saying like if they know somebody who's willing to sell the house to them with monthly payments. That's exactly what it is. Owner financing is when you work with a seller and they agree to accept monthly payments over time. They become essentially the bank for you. I love owner finance deals, right? Because I don't have to go through banks. I don't have to prove my credit worthiness, right? And in some instances, I don't even have to have money. Here's what you're going to do with the owner financing. So first, again, that's between you and the seller. The difference between owner financing and subject to is subject to, we got a mortgage. So we're taking over the mortgage subject to the mortgage's terms. Owner financing, there is no mortgage. So now it's just strictly between me and the seller and what we want to work out. Once you get ownership of that property with owner financing, it's endless what you can do with it. You, again, are now the owner. You can sell it on a wrap. Because remember, now you and the owner have a mortgage together that y'all just created between you guys, so you can wrap it. You can rent it out. I love renting out to Section 8. You can Airbnb it. You can do, it's your house. You can do whatever you want to. You can live in it, whatever you want to do with it, okay? But owner financing is another way where you can go in with no money, no credit, and not have any banks involved. I'm giving y'all the game right now. There's something else too. Somebody was saying, they were talking about tax liens and things like that. I'll give you 2 instances with liens, okay? One instance with liens, I bought a house. I was in the process of buying a house, and a bunch of liens popped up on it when we did the title search. The person who got the house inherited it, and they inherited the house. They didn't know all of that stuff was on there. Now, again, I'm in real estate, so I understand liens and things like that a little bit better than obviously the average person. Long story short, some of the liens that were on that house, I knew follows the person and not the house. So when that person passed away or whatever, those liens really should have been extinguished. The right paperwork probably wasn't filed for it. I also dug deeper, and another one of the liens, which was a mortgage lien, had already been released. It's just that for whatever reason, the paperwork just hadn't been updated in the system, right? So I let the seller know, hey, all of these liens, I told you I'd pay X amount of dollars for this house. These liens are upwards to $80,000. I don't have another $80,000 to give you. And she was like, I had no idea. I don't want anything to do with these houses. I don't want the liens on me. What can I do? And so I told her, well, hey, I'll take over the liens. I'm not paying you anything for this house because what I was going to pay you would have been eaten up by these liens. But what I will do is I'll take over the liens. I'll pay them off with the property, over time. I'll take care of that. She was so happy and relieved that she had another house that had liens on it. She ended up giving me both houses for $0. Again, knowledge, right? I know how to handle those liens, and I did. So I was able to get those liens released, and I essentially walked away with 2 houses. I digress. My point is, sorry, I gotta be up sometime to start talking about, I'm old, okay? Even if I didn't get those liens paid off, let's say the $80,000 lien stayed on that house. The house was worth well over $80,000. So I'm already in the positive there, but there's more. Now that I have ownership for this house and I've taken over the liens, I could not close at a title company because when you close at title, they want you to pay the liens off. So I took over the liens subject to, right? Just like I took over the mortgage payments, I took over the liens subject to the terms of the liens. That's something that you can do. And then you can work out a payment plan to pay the liens off. You are in control of this property. Now you own this property, right? Same thing. I ended up renting it out with Section 8 because I was getting a whole lot of cash flow for it. And that, of course, would cover any lien payment that was due. But you could also sell it on owner financing, sell it on a wrap, Airbnb, or whatever's most profitable. This is not about me teaching you that, right? This is about awareness. So anyway, even if the lien stayed on there, I would have just looked at the numbers to see, okay, how much money they want me to pay per month if I can work something out with them. How much money could I get for rent? And if rent was more than what I had to pay for the liens every month, then cool, it's an easy deal. Of course, I'm going to do it every single time. So yes, you can take over liens. Another example of liens that I've taken over are tax liens. Same thing. Somebody was in tax foreclosure. They owed $30,000 in taxes. They're like, this, I don't have $30,000, blah, blah. Same knowledge. Cool. I'll take over the $30,000 lien. And I'll even give you $1,000 to move. Now I know you said you guys are doing no money, no credit, no bank. So let's say I didn't give 1,000, okay? So I take over the $30,000 lien for taxes. Then I just went down to the county assessor and I worked out a payment plan with them. So I wanted to say they gave me 3 years to pay it back. I don't know, this deal was so long ago. I'll make up some numbers. Let's say they wanted $700 per month for the next 3 years. Section 8 was paying me $1,300 per month forever, right? For as long as the house could live, as long as the tenant is going to be there. So 13 minus 7. So I'm still walking away with $600 per month for the first 3 years. And then after the first 3 years, I'm keeping the entire $1,300 per month for myself. Okay. And that house did not have a mortgage on it. So it was just taking over the tax lien. So yes, you can take over liens. And really, you need to talk to your family, talk to your people in your neighborhood. People are always going through things. They just don't have the knowledge or the know-how to figure it out. And now you have it. Okay. Someone said that they saw like a house in their neighborhood that's been sitting there for a long time. And they're trying to figure out what they can do with it, blah, blah. And they said a long time, like it's been sitting there like for years. Okay, many things you can do with it, but I'll tell you what I explained with this one because I want to teach adverse ownership, zombie properties. So many things you can do with it, but just one example is if no one's living there, you don't see anybody there, rent it out anyway. You literally can go in there anyway. If nobody's in there, nobody's doing anything with it. There are some investors who would just go in that house anyway, get it up, get it rent ready, and they rent it out anyway. Now you just got that house for $0. You didn't have to get any banks. You didn't have to talk to anybody, nothing like that. And now you're cash flowing the house. So let's say that house is making you, I don't know, $1,000 per month. You don't have a mortgage on it. You're not paying anything except like really nothing if you're going to rent it out. Sorry, I get ahead of myself because I would want to teach. All right, so cool. So the questions, of course, that they had was, well, what if that person comes back and decide that they want their house back? Give it back. Who cares? Let's say if you only kept the house for 5 years, right, uninterrupted, that's 5 times the $12,000 you were making per year. So that's $60,000 you made on the house. If they come back and say, hey, that's my house, what are you doing? Fine, take it. Sorry. Oops, my bad. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. and leave it at that. Right. Now you wouldn't necessarily be able to sell that house. It would have to be a strategy where you're holding it. Airbnb, rent out the rooms, rent out the whole house. Yeah, so that's what we call zombie properties. Now, adverse ownership, I'm not going to get into details with that one. We just happened to have a real estate attorney in the house at that meeting that I taught at yesterday. And he was able to come in and teach about adverse ownership. And in some, I don't want to get into that, but in some, he's just saying like, if you stay in the house for a certain amount of time and establish ownership and no one's claiming it, that eventually you can get a deed for the house and then you can sell it and do whatever. But I'm not an attorney. Okay. I'm a real estate investor. But anyway, that's called a zombie property. Listen, I just dropped so many gems. If you're not picking this stuff up, it's because you just don't want to be wealthy and you just don't want to get into real estate with no money and no banks and no credit. Okay. Let's see. What's another one we talked about? I feel like I hit them all. Oh, I was talking about some other non-traditional lending products. So someone else was saying, they were just asking about like if they wanted to just like qualify for a mortgage and just do it the regular way. They don't want to do all this investing stuff. They don't want to do all this creative stuff that I'm talking about. I just want a house for me and my family to live in. My number one recommendation is going to be the NACA program, NACA.com. When you look it up, a lot of people think it's too good to be true. I can personally tell you, I bought my personal residence. I don't live there now, but one of my personal residences that I had through NACA years ago, maybe almost a decade ago. It is the real deal. I came in, I didn't have to have any money for closing. Zero down. I didn't have to have good credit. I had terrible credit at that time. And within, I think it took about 9 months. And within 9 months, I was able to purchase my first house for me and my family. One misconception with NACA is that you have to buy it in a bad neighborhood. Not true at all. Not true at all. That is an option. And if you buy in an up-and-coming neighborhood, they will give you more money. 10 years ago, I think the cap was $230,000, which for me, that was great. I don't mind living in a $250,000 house. I got it. But if you wanted like maybe a $400,000 house, then it would have to be in an up and coming neighborhood, which is easy in Houston because we don't have zoning. So you can have a mansion right next to a shack. So that's easy in Houston. I don't know who you guys are, but use the NACA program. It is true. Zero money down. You do not, there is no minimum credit score. I will say they're going to work you. Now they're going to put you to work. By the time you leave NACA, you will be a financial expert. Okay. They are going to make you do the work, which they should. They're giving you zero. They're not asking for a credit check. They're not, well, they ask for a credit check, but they're not using your credit score and they're not asking you for any money down. Yeah, they should ask you to do some work for it. But when you do the work, you will get the results. So I will recommend NACA if you're like, I'm not trying to do nothing, investing. I just want a house. NACA. Start at NACA.com. And then my suggestion with the NACA was, I know you said you just want a house for you and your family, but I'm a real estate investor. So it's my job to impart and give you my advice and get in your business. If you are going to go through the NACA program, even if it's not NACA, you just get an FHA loan or a conventional loan or whatever, and you're a young person, remember this video is for young people, you will buy a 4-unit, okay? You will buy a 4-unit. When you get any kind of traditional loan, NACA, FHA, conventional, anything like that, what you don't know is you can buy 1 to 4 units. Can't go past the 4, but you can buy 1 to 4 units. So what I'm going to advise you to do is to get the full 4 units. Get the 4 units. You and your family can live in one of the units if you want to. Well, you probably have to for the loan product for a period of time. And the other 3 units you're going to rent out. So let's say if I don't know, I'm making up numbers again. Let's say if the 4-plex was $250,000 and your mortgage is $2,000. Okay. And let's say each property, each unit rents for $1,500. Okay. So that's going to be 1,500 times 3, which is 4,500. We can't multiply by 4 because you're living in one of them. So you're paying $2,000 a month in the mortgage, but you're making $4,500 a month in rental income. Hello, come on. Okay. So that's $2,500 a month that you're making just by living there. And then when you eventually move out, now you have 4 units that are making that kind of money for you. So I know we all like the American dream, the white picket fence and my own single family home. Let that be your second house. Okay. Because you're going to get better terms and rates and things on your first house. If you're doing these first time buyer programs, buy a 4-unit. Listen to me, Linda. Okay. Listen to Auntie Ashley. Buy the 4-unit, live in one, and allow the others to be rented out. That is also called house hacking. So same thing here. Okay. So, I'm not a mortgage lender. Okay. I'm not a realtor. I'm just a real estate investor, a person that invests in real estate to make money. Okay. So this next one, I'll share it. You do with it what you will. Okay. You can buy houses in an LLC. Okay, there is a loan product called a DSCR loan. That is a debt service coverage ratio loan. That essentially means that instead of you qualifying to buy the house with like how much money you have or your credit or things like that, the house has to qualify for the loan. This is what I mean. That same example where we said you bought the 4-plex and let's say, and we said your mortgage was $2,000, but you were earning $4,500 on renting out 3 of the units. Okay, you look for a situation like that. And you're going to use those numbers to apply for the DSCR loan. So you'll go to the lender and say, here's the house, my mortgage. They'll tell you, probably what your mortgage would be. Okay, I know I can make $4,500 from this house. The numbers alone will qualify you for a DSCR loan. very popular with investors, very popular in the buy and hold community, but no one says that you can't do it, right? Especially since it is an investment property, you're buying a fourplex, making money off of it. What I like about DSCR loans also is a lot of times they're no dots. So you don't even have to have tax returns or anything like that. The house is qualifying for the loan, not you. Now I will say credit scores will help. I mean, that would definitely help you get a better interest rate. So remember DSCR, you can close in an LLC. So let's say if you have a friend or a family member and they have good credit, you can add them to the LLC and their credit can qualify to help bring down that interest rate if that's something that you need to do. But I'm just letting you know that is another option. Again, I am not a lender. I am not a mortgage broker. I'm not a real estate agent. I am a real estate investor. Okay. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything else that I wanted to share here. Fourplex units. Partners. I'm not going to get into partnerships. Somebody asked me about like if you can partner with other people, but if you don't have a lot of experience, you really don't want to be partnering if you don't know what you're doing. Flips. Somebody asked about flips. Flips. No. If you're a young person and you don't have money or credit, don't do those yet. I think I covered them all. Let me just review very quickly what we talked about. And then I'll go ahead and shut this one down. Sorry, my camera's getting blurry. Let me see if I can zoom in and zoom out. There we go. Okay, so we talked about wholesaling. We talked about Airbnbs. We talked about owner financing. We talked about wrap mortgages. We talked about taking over mortgages subject to. We talked about taking over liens subject to. We talked about different types of loan products. We talked about zombie houses and adverse ownership. I think I hit them all. I hope I hit them all. If I didn't, I'll do a video later. But again, this is for you young people. You don't have money, you don't have credit, you don't really have any experience in this game. Those are the areas where I would start if I were you. And young people, y'all have energy and y'all are smart. Y'all are way smarter than my generation. Or y'all have so much. Do it. Take something I learned, take something I taught today and do it. Implement it. Just go with it. Pick one and just do it. Just commit to it and do it. Y'all have the energy, y'all have the know-how, y'all have the brains to do it. Get it done. Okay, I'm gonna shut this down and take these gym clothes off. I know you guys are gonna have questions. I know you're gonna try to meet with me and ask me to help you do this, and I'm gonna have to say I am so sorry that season has passed for me. Okay, listen, when I get into the billions of dollars and I have time to go back and like teach this stuff and work with you, I 100% will. But I can tell you right now, my main focus is on partnering with people who do have money, who do have capital. So I won't be able to help and walk you through this like I could have probably a couple of years ago. But just because I can't doesn't mean other people cannot. Okay. I do have some people who I recommend for each of these niches, and they still teach and they will still work with you and walk you through it. But unfortunately, it can't be me right now. Okay, it can't be me. The only way I'm doing these methods right now is if I'm doing it for me and my partners and I'm saving us money, but I don't really have the time or resources to teach it and really walk you guys through it. I just wanted to let that be known. Okay, I'm just here to give. This is just free info. I don't need you to try to work with me or sign up for any class or course. I don't have one for you, not for this stuff. Now, if you happen to see this video and you are someone with some capital that you want to invest, maybe you just sold a company or maybe you have money in your retirement or IRA or some other savings or investment account, okay, I will work with, okay, because I want to partner with you. I want to work with you so that we can build both of our portfolios more quickly. Anyway, my link is in the description if you want to meet with me, talk more about how we can partner. I'd love to hear from you. But again, if you're here and because you're still starting, you don't have money, you don't have credit, things like that. I used to be the girl. I can't be the girl to help you right now because I have to focus on my current partnerships. But look on YouTube, go to your local RIAs. I'm sure there's people on Facebook and social media who'd be happy to work with you. But honestly, the things I just taught you, you shouldn't need a whole lot of help, right? Just do what I said. Just do. Okay, for real this time, I'm off because I gotta take these sweaty clothes off. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.